Okay, very important subject. Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you for allowing me in, because I'm not a permanent member of this committee, but obviously I live in Mayo in rural Ireland, in the west of Ireland, and this is a topic that's hugely important to me. It's extremely worrying, I think, taken up from Michael's contribution there, and it would beg the question of who is in control, and for me, who is in control of providing a public transport service or a transport service to rural Ireland. And it would seem like, as you said, that the operators make the decisions, and for us living in rural Ireland, I mean, that is just a crazy situation. And I suppose it is derived from, you know, it being a political decision. And when you get a Taoiseach responding in 2015 to the serious issue of cutting routes with saying that buses cannot be driving around Boreens, when you get a government response like that, I suppose it's no wonder that we're in the situation that we're in. But I want to go back to a few things. I want to go back overall first to the 9.4 million in losses that you're saying. So really taking this in context of what's happening economically in the country and financially, what we're saying is that were the government not to have allowed, say, the Section 110 tax breaks for the vulture funds, we could be running the transport service, running Bus Éireann for 37 years, the way it is, without making any cuts to staff or without making any cuts to routes. You know, these are the political choices that are being made, and I think they need to be examined in the wider context. I'm particularly interested in, and I suppose worried about, the Athlone to Westport service. And the reason I am, and I want to ask you a couple of key questions around this. First, this was first mooted in 2015, and what has been done since then in terms of marketing that route, in terms of shoring up that route? You say that it would save 1.1 million for the cutting the Athlone to Westport route, the Dublin to Clonmel and the Dublin to Derry route. Maybe you could just give us a breakdown of the savings over each of these routes and over what length of time. And also, if you've calculated how many extra passengers it would take to make those routes viable, so to make up the savings of the 1.1 million. And I just want to ask you in relation to that as well, what's the consultation processes that took place over that time before the decision is being made? And did you take into account the Wild Atlantic Way and the millions that are being used to market the Wild Atlantic Way internationally in bringing people to the west of Ireland as well when you made that decision? Is the decision made now, or is it just on the table? Is there yet more consultations to be done? I know there's quite a lot in that, but
Senator, I think there's a
I don't know if there's anything in there to answer.
Yeah, because we haven't made the decision. It's Bus Éireann's decision that have made.
To me, it's the transport thing.
No, there is a difference because these are commercial services, and you know, in terms of the cost and all the information associated with that, and the responsibility for marketing the service, that rests with Bus Éireann. You know, in terms of our responsibility is to look and see what public service obligation to provide services would remain should there be withdrawal of the services, the commercial services, Bus Éireann's commercial services from Mayo. And that's what we would look at. And we would look at what you have said in terms of the Wild Atlantic Way, the towns and that need to be served and continue to be served, not just for commuters, but also for tourists and visitors to that area. So, yes, it would be very important for us in terms of looking at a redesign of those services, is getting the best provision of services as we can for the funding that we have available.
And your responsibilities around the integration of the different transport systems. So I might ask, what do you have information on, or specific information on the different changes that have been made to the routes, and then have they been evaluated to see the extra number of passengers and what impact they have had on the original routes, and how many changes have been made?
We would have information about the changes to licensed services on the basis of those if there was any amendments to licences. So we would have that information available, all right. But the assessment behind that really rests with the operators, and because it's their commercial business, so they're not obliged to give that information to us, nor do we seek it. In relation to the subsidised contracted services that we have with Bus Éireann, obviously, you know, we because we pay for those services, or we pay subsidy towards those services, yes, if there are any changes to those services, first of all, we have to approve them, and then we would monitor with the operator what's been the changes in terms of cost, revenue, passenger numbers on those services. Yes, we would monitor those very closely with the operators.
And would you force them to make to have consultation?
Well, yes,
in the areas?
There, you know, it depends on the level of service change. You know, what level of consultation will be in place. But generally, the operators do have consultation related to the changes. In relation to these changes, the possible changes related to the 3 expressway routes, that would be something that we would manage in terms of the consultation, because we may be contracting those services or changing existing services. So, as we have done before, we published an assessment of the Route 5 and the Route 7 in terms of what would be replacement services, and we certainly attended a lot of local meetings in terms of, you know, getting some feedback in terms of what the demand and what kind of changes could be made to those services. So it depends on the type of service that we're talking about, the level of consultation that's undertaken. But in terms of Mayo, we carried out a consultation, which was the first time we looked at a county-wide kind of consultation in relation to public transport services. And we carried that out, I think it was in 2015, and published a document about what the improvement in public transport services could be, particularly for Mayo, just to try and see, you know, what kind of feedback we would get in relation to the service provision. So we have that information as well available to us to assist us with planning for what could be replacement services for Expressway in that area.
Okay.